Thanks, Diane. Today we're at Gardensphere talking with Travis Valbert about urban chickens. Hi, Travis. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for coming, Stacy.
So, could you tell us, how can someone get started with their own urban chickens?
So getting started with your own urban chickens is deciding that you have the ambition to take care of them, that you have the space in either your front or backyard, and that you'd like the delicious eggs that they produce.
How many eggs can a typical chicken produce?
So chickens generally will produce between 5 and 7 eggs per week. Certain breeds are more reliable than others, and they will take some time off in the winter, generally from Thanksgiving to Valentine's Day, unless you were to artificially light them, and then you can continue having egg production throughout the winter.
And so these little guys aren't ready for egg production just yet, but so how old would they have to be started?
So the chickens we're looking at today are 2 weeks old. They need to stay indoors under a heat lamp for 2 months, at which point they go outside, and at between 4 and 6 months, you'll start to get egg production from them.
What are some general care tips for these chickens?
So general care tips are making sure you have a properly constructed coop that can keep rats and raccoons out, socializing with them heavily so that they do become more pets as opposed to just farm animals, and just overall having a good outlook and having fun with them.
What kind of space should be created for these little guys?
So like I mentioned, for the first 2 months, they're going to stay in something like a large cardboard box, a Rubbermaid tote, a kennel, and they're going to be in a basement or a garage or a spare bedroom under a heat lamp where they're getting all of their feathers. After that, they're going to move to your outdoor coop that you can either buy or construct, and your coop should have about 10 square feet per bird that you have. That's what we consider humane for chicken rearing.
Do you need a lot of space for these in your backyard?
You don't really. So the average chicken owner probably has between 3 and 4, which is about 30 to 50 square feet of space.
Okay.
Just very small size of half of a bedroom or such. A lot of chicken owners love to pamper their birds and let them free range and have full access to the yard, which you definitely can do in addition to your coop. Chickens should be fed a good balanced feed, which we put in a feeder. We call these hopper style feeders. They're top fill, and then the chickens go ahead and eat out of the base. Standard feeder will generally feed for about a week period, which is great if you're going away for a weekend or such. Then when we look at feeds, we have different brands of feeds. Some people choose to have a non-genetically modified feed that is organic. Then we have the more economical but still very wholesome conventional feeds. We then have starter, grower, and layer feed. And what that is it's a balance of a protein to calcium ratio to keep the birds healthy from their young, very fast-growing development up to the laying age, which has the lowest protein and the highest amount of calcium. In addition, we have lots of different treats and amendments for your chickens. Flaxseed is incredibly popular. This is purely an additive, does nothing for the chicken, but it does add omega-3s, good fatty acids, into the eggs for the person that's eating them. Further down here, we have mealworms, which are by far one of our best sellers. Chickens adore mealworms. They'll flock to them, and they make a very good training aid. Your chickens are likely to follow you, to respond to different keywords, and really just enjoy them. Farther down we have cracked corn, which is another great treat for your chickens. Not a balanced feed, just a treat. But then we have oyster shell, which we oftentimes throw into the coop. None of these need to be mixed with the feed. You just basically throw them on the ground, let the chickens find it if they need it. The oyster shell is a higher bump in calcium. Occasionally, chickens will produce a very thin-shelled egg, or sometimes even a shellless egg, which looks a little bit like a jellyfish. If you notice those symptoms, definitely want to pop in, get some oyster shell to give them that added calcium. Finally, we have 3 different sizes of grit. Grit, like the calcium, is thrown onto the floor of the coop. They pick it up if they need it, and they store it in their crop to grind up the grains. So essentially, it's a digestion aid for the chickens.
So why have backyard chickens?
Well, most importantly for the eggs, but also it's great to teach your children, neighbors, friends, etc., where their food comes from.
How long do these little guys live?
About 4 to 6 years, and they produce pretty much that entire time.
How can people store the eggs that they get?
So ironically, eggs can be stored at room temperature for 2 to 3 weeks. If you're going to be storing them longer, you should refrigerate them, at which point they're good for about 6 to 8 weeks refrigerated.
So what are the names of these different little breeds?
So today we have Rhode Island Reds on the right, Buff Orpingtons in the middle, and Black Australorps on the left.
What are the rules with the city for having these guys in the city limits?
So currently in the city of Tacoma proper, 6 birds, and your coop should be 15 feet off of the property line.
Good. Well, thank you so much for telling us about urban chickens today, Travis. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Can I send some home with you?
Sure can.
All right.
Thanks.